Welcome back to our Life is Strange analysis. We're picking up in the middle of this chapter. We've gone back in time to before Chloe was killed, and we're going to try and convince her to not die. I really like this scene. It's really well done, and it works very well at reconnecting us with Chloe and deepening our relationship, and we'll get into some details of that as it happens. However, it's important to remember that at this time, Chloe is raging, and we should remember that because it is a major part of that plot sequence. She's hunting for Nathan. She wants Nathan dead.
Fine, Max. I'm listening.
Chloe, you can't go in that party. You're gonna die if you do.
You used your powers, right? And you fucked around with time and I died.
Not like that.
You're supposed to back me up. So there's no way that punk-ass bitch Nathan Prescott is taking me down.
You're right, he won't. Mark Jefferson killed you. And others.
Jefferson, the art teacher? That's bullshit. Nathan is the fucking serial killer.
Well, Nathan is responsible for all of the people that we care about, but Jefferson killed some random other people. So, the idea here is we have to try and get Chloe to listen to us. Her rage is running at full tilt, and she is not planning to actually calm down. And how can we get her to calm down? Well, this is the really great part about this scene, because in all of the other sequences where we are trying to get things to happen, we try and either lie or play up the situation, or any number of things. We try and bull through with our strengths. But in this situation, we can't do that. If we try and be strong, then Chloe tries to be stronger.
Because I was there.
Will you please tell me exactly what happened? Please.
So here we can try and choose any of these options, but as I said, if we try and pull through with strength, Chloe is going to come back with strength.
Nathan, and he killed him.
Then it's Jefferson's turn to die now. I understand why you don't want to do this, and I won't blame you for not coming with me.
Chloe! Oh, you almost had her, Max. I can still do this.
Excuse me.
Nathan. Because...
So in order to win Chloe over, you have to stop being strong.
Chloe. Jefferson drugged and kidnapped me. I was tied up in his bunker. You have no idea what hell I went through to get back here. But I couldn't let you die. You brought me back here, and I can't lose you again. I won't.
Max, I'm so sorry. I was the one who dragged you into all this shit. Nobody, especially you, should have to go through that. Now we have to stop Jefferson. With one bullet.
No, not this way. Chloe, I can't keep fixing everything if all I'm gonna do is just break it over and over again. I know how this is gonna turn out, and I'm afraid I'm fucking up all these alternate realities.
Wait, alternate realities? What do you mean, Max? What did you do?
So I consider this to be a really great scene because it really does connect the two characters. For the whole game, we've been noting that when Max talks to Chloe, she can't really front. She can't really fake it. If she tries, Chloe calls her on it, so she has to be honest. And this is an extension of that. We deepen our bonds of friendship by being honest and showing our weaknesses. This would have been much more powerful if it happened after the nightmare sequence, because it's fundamentally about accepting our weaknesses. But instead it happens before the nightmare sequence.
Chloe,
In addition to the dialogue, take a listen to that background heartbeat and how it changes.
I changed your past, and I had to make a terrible choice, and I...
Max, please tell me. I won't be mad at you.
Once again, since this is a conversation where we're pulling out all of our invested energy, there's no need for tricks, no need for camera works or convoluted dialogue or, that sort of stuff. Just straight up tell it because we can pull all that energy out.
And you were in pain. You were slowly dying, and
And form a connection.
you asked me to end your life. I did. For you. I didn't want you to suffer in any other timeline or reality. I couldn't bear the thought of you in any more pain.
God, Max. That must have been...
I don't know how much of that heartbeat stuff was accidental and how much was on purpose, but that's a really good trick. Also, I would have liked to see more blocking in here because physical touch is very powerful, but it's still pretty well done.
Everything up, and I never want to hurt you. Ever. You have to believe me.
Of course I do. Do you think I would even know how to handle that situation? Nobody would.
One big weakness in the emotionality of this game is the frozen faces. The meshes they have can't support any big emotional, scrunches or glares or wide mouths, and that does limit the amount of emotion they can show.
Away with torture and murder?
Of course not. If we tell David, he'll believe us, and he can actually stop him. Right?
Is that why you stuck up for him? Because you think he can help us? Really?
Yes!
Chloe, no matter how much of a douche he's been, David truly cares about you.
Because the David arc is resolved in the player's mind, it's time to resolve it in the characters' minds as fast as possible. Also, we can use this to pull more emotions out of Chloe, get some better expressions and some character growth out of her. So it's a win-win.
I can't see him showing any feeling. Except towards my mom. So what's your plan?
We tell him everything, including that Victoria is in danger.
Okay. You've been through so much. I believe you, Max. After all, I'm still your faithful companion.
Yes.
Now, Chloe's continuous
In a few minutes.
backing of us, the fact that she always backs us to the hilt, is a very powerful technique. And it's definitely something we'll be talking about a lot more in a little while.
Let him do his job. You'll have to tell me exactly what I did and said just now. Just explain that I traveled.
Also, we now understand all of our time travel powers capabilities. It's too bad that we never showed any sign of understanding them until that moment. Well, whatever. Chloe is alive, and that's all that matters. So what should happen now is we should cut straight to the nightmare scene so that the player would be uncertain as to whether it was a nightmare or whether reality was disintegrating. Because after this sequence, and we burn away time like this, waking up in the nightmare would feel like you weren't sure what was going on. Instead, we wake up here, and we have this scene which is entirely pointless. There is absolutely nothing gained in this scene. All it really does is convince us that the nightmare scene is just a nightmare, because we've seen that reality is stable. Do we? I thought for sure that we were going to become her, especially when we walked into that San Francisco art gallery and we were wearing feathers. I was like, oh, well, that's a pretty clear statement because Rachel Amber's iconic image is her wearing feathers. So obviously we're wearing feathers. We're going to turn into her. Never happened.
I can't even believe this is real. This is happening because of me.
Stop it.
So all the dialogue is about how the characters believe that that's true. None of the events in the story back that up at all. It's all just them talking.
Who knows? This could be Rachel's revenge. Our revenge.
I actually believe that's more likely. This is more likely because Rachel is pissed that she died. Alright, so now we're gonna go into the nightmare scene. Unfortunately, we know it's a nightmare scene because reality was perfectly stable. That said, it's a very good nightmare scene for the first part. Creating a nightmare scene is extremely delicate and difficult. We set this up earlier by lingering a little bit over long in this environment, in this room. This will make us hyper aware of any changes that happen.
Now, can you give me an example of a photographer who
Okay,
perfectly
this is
captured the
messed
human
up.
condition in black and white?
Am I stuck in a time loop?
Anybody? Bueller?
Diane
Be
Arbus.
calm
There
and
you go,
don't
Victoria.
freak out
What's that thump?
Jarvis.
yet.
Because of her images of hopeless faces, you feel like totally haunted by the eyes of those sad mothers and children.
The light even gets redder.
He's tortured, right?
What's going on?
And frankly, it's bullshit.
Nobody even cares?
Keep that to yourself. Seriously, though, I could frame any one of you in a dark corner and capture you in a moment of desperation.
Everybody's gone now. Have I totally
The
fucked
first
up?
part of this nightmare sequence is really well done. When you're building a nightmare sequence, the point is that you have to slowly break down the player's expectation of rationality. You have to break down their thought that cause will have an effect or that an effect will create a cause. You have to break all of their expectations down and make things not make sense. But you have to do it in a way that makes sense. And this is fairly well done. It's a fairly good version of exactly that.
That's it? 3 times is clearly not the charm. I don't care if this is a dream or a nightmare. I'm taking this picture.
Now, another thing you can do to make the player feel that the nightmare is nightmarish is that you can restrict their choices to just bad options, and that's what this conversation is. Max loses her ability to take the reins. She loses her ability to make good choices. She can only make bad choices. Just like in the beginning of the game, where she'd always make subpar choices, but these ones are like actively bad. And what's more, you can rewind time over and over and try the different options, and they're all ludicrously bad.
There's no way I'm saying that. No way.
All of these are pretty bad.
I like to think of it as our dark realm. It's the only place I truly feel safe and protected from the storm.
Of course, Max. I can capture you over and over. You can be my model for life. And death.
Now, a game about a time traveler trying to evade a serial killer could be a very interesting game. This game is not that game.
If you get dirty like Rachel or Chloe.
There are a bunch of things we can look at, but none of it actually matters much. The core conceit of this nightmare is going to become clear now. Oh, I should probably... This is an awesome effect. Watch this. Isn't that cool? That was really well done. And now we're back here. I really love these scenes. These are the scenes where the devs decide they're really going to break down the player's sense of reality. And they're going to do it in a classic manner by having you go through doors and things on the other side are not what you would expect. This is a classic approach, and it works really, really well. There's something about doors and the human mind where the human mind gets interrupted by moving through a door, and like research actually backs this up to some extent. So if you wanted people to feel confused, that is definitely the easiest way to do it. Make going through a door confusing. I originally thought that was Max Caulfield. That was a picture of Max on the floor. But it's not. It's just a weird-ass selfie, or a weird-ass close-up of Kate.
Max, why did you stop me from jumping? What kind of friend are you?
So this is the weak point, or rather this is the beginning of the weak point for the nightmare. This is a nightmare about Max's self-delusions, her weaknesses and her fears, what she thinks other people think about her. Unfortunately, it's been a long, long time since the player cared about that. It's been a long, long time since Max cared about that. The last time we lied to someone to try and be their friend was like 2 chapters ago. It was a long time ago. And the door, every time it opens, there's something else inside. Now we're starting off pretty soft here. These delusions aren't really that delusional, and they're very easy to work out. And you're like, okay, yeah, now I've got a key. The only weird thing about this is if you open door 218 before you have a key, it leads right back in here. Whereas when you have a key, it leads to the next area, which is our Rachel Amber area. I guess they didn't have a model for Rachel Amber because we are just Max dressed as Rachel Amber. And I was still holding out that we were Rachel Amber. Anyway, which room is Rachel Amber's? Tara Garcia is living in our room. I kind of want to go visit her. Where is Rachel Amber? There she is, 224. This is how the hall was before we got in here. This is how things were 6 months ago.
She just left Arcadia without a word, without me.
And now we're Victoria. We're breaking down the rules of logic and of cause and effect and of personality and of who we are and where we are. And that's how you do it when you're trying to build a nightmare state. You slowly chip away every foundation of the player's expectation, including who the player is playing. Now we're back to Max again, which means we probably gotta go into Max's room. Especially since all of these selfies are all over the walls. Huh?
This one is for Samuel.
The first time I saw those squirrels, I was so surprised because I had already beaten the game twice by then, and it was only on the third time through that I noticed them. I was like, whoa! I think I have a record of that. I might be able to put it in. We'll see. Well, it's pretty clear whose room we're supposed to go in. The bathroom! No. Whoa, what the? I have never seen that before!
This one is for Samuel.
This is a wonderful scene. We've now been through this hallway sequence twice. This is the third time, and we're running it backwards. This is super clever in a lot of ways. One of those ways is a production bit of cleverness. We already have all these assets. We just need to reverse them and massage them a little bit. It's certainly cheaper than making them all fresh. Another bit of cleverness is that going in reverse is literally an unwinding of what we expect. So we're still chipping away every foundation, and the foundation that time goes forward is the one we're chipping away now. I wonder whether YouTube will get on my ass because of a backwards song. Well, if you hear weird cuts in the music, you know the answer. Wonderful sequence. This is where it falls apart. And I think if you asked people who had played the game what their least favorite part was, 90% of them at least would say this sequence. Okay, so I'm going to move through this sequence for the rest of this episode. You can feel free to actively skip ahead. There's not going to be anything in this sequence that is going to be terribly interesting except for me complaining about it. So if you really want to see it, feel free, but I'm not going to look down on you if you decide that you also want to skip this sequence, because it is really an obnoxious sequence.
What happened to your spark, Max? I thought I could be
Maybe
your
I'll be safe in the lighthouse. Maybe I'll wake up.
So the conceit of this scene is that these people can put the spotlight on us, in this case flashlights, and that will cause us to freeze, and we'll have to rewind time to avoid their spotlight. It's a pretty good literalization of the way that we use our time travel powers to say the things people want to hear. The problem is that this scene goes on for a long, long time, and we haven't had to use our powers in this way to avoid people's opinions of us for quite a while. So it's not fresh in our mind, and it doesn't really connect. It also goes on for a really, really, really long time.
And I'm here to drop the mic on Max Caulfield. Miss Caulfield.
Also, because when you rewind, it takes you so long to come out of your rewinding animation, it's very easy to actually get stuck, unable to rewind any further. And that is a huge problem.
I regret to announce that one of your fellow classmates.
Anyway, this is clearly just a nightmare. All these people are saying either nonsense things or the things we're scared of. And we're just going to move through it. But I do think that having all of the characters be threats is a good one. Because our powers... Because these people are as much a threat to us as Jefferson was.
So why don't you, huh? What makes you so special?
You didn't become friends with the Tabanga.
Hold on, Max.
Become friends with the Tabanga.
Miss Price can't just show up at Blackwell in a wheelchair and think we're going to accommodate her every whip.
You end up destroying the town.
Holy shit! You really think Victoria's gonna be your best friend forever? She will always hate you!
I can beat you up.
All right.
Max.
Oh, for fuck's sake. Go away. Go away.
Max! Everything and you.
So, this is the really obnoxious part. We have to find all the fucking bottles. How fun is that gonna be? Well, I'll tell you, it's not very fun. If you've played the game, I'm sure that you are currently really, really annoyed. Oh, for fuck's sake.
Like her last.
Come on, girlie.
I know you're dying for
I'm gonna cut you open, freak.
it. Hey, Max.
Those were my beans, Max. Those were my fucking
Just like her
beans.
last name, I can finally see right through her skin and feel that cold, rotting.
You are at the top of my shit list now, Max.
It's like the worst parts of Metal Gear Solid.
You will be my greatest portrait, Max.
Oh no. Bottles. This might be hell.
Could have seen Rachel, my blood-spattered angel.
Well, these ones aren't too hard to find.
So we can actually take a seat and, like, think about stuff for a while, and that's actually really cute. I like that idea. We're not going to do it because I want to get through this, and it's really obnoxious and slow.
You should have heard Chloe smack talk you. Hilarious when you guys dug up Rachel's body.
Is there one more left?
Yeah, it's also in an annoying spot.
Rachel is wild food.
Especially after I dug her body up to be with her one fun.
Please let that be the last one.
Hey, Max. Rachel not only gave great headshots, she gave great...
All right. So that's the nightmare scene that everyone hates. The first part was really good, but this sequence here felt really super forced and contrived, and I think everyone hated it. When you're doing a nightmare scene, you have to be very careful not to settle into a rut or settle into a groove, because by definition, you've talked the player out of those. And it's a mistake to then introduce them again. That's just the long and short of it. When you do come out of the nightmare scene, you're trying to find a resolution, and that's the only time when you should have a sequence that makes sense, when you are entering into the resolution phase. And that's what we're going to do, but we're not going to do it this instant. We are going to do it in the next episode. We're out of the annoying part. In the next episode, we're going to be in the good part again. Good-ish.